You're also going to hear about me punching somebody in the face.
Oh my gosh.
That's
Not the
part of our
pastor.
church. Yeah. And, but let me mention to you
Everybody's going to buy this book right now. Everyone.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Family Business with the Alessis. I'm Steve Alessi here with Mary Alessi, and we're in the podcast booth again. A booth. Again.
You Italian on the...
Sharing what we don't always share on Sundays. And we're talking about family. We're talking about working together. We're talking about going through challenges together, Mary. Because family's everybody's business. We want to stay on point and help our family and the audience come alongside of us in this journey of my book called 42 that is just been released.
Okay, so we're talking about your book today.
Yes.
That's what we're going to talk about.
Yes.
And it encompasses all those things. I am very excited to talk about it because I get to help endorse something that has been 15 years in the making. And I know probably makes you a little uncomfortable to push yourself. You are certainly not the best marketing person of you.
Well, thank you.
You never have been. That's okay. You're very humble. But I get to be that. So I'm going to push you. You've pushed me over the years and supported me. Are you listening?
I am.
Okay. Just making sure you are.
They didn't know I was looking at my phone.
But
now
I just let them
them
know. The listeners need to know you weren't listening to me.
Hang on.
Get your coffee.
I'm listening.
You're so...
Hot. By the way, do you have a family business mug? You should if you're watching.
See?
You need to grab a coffee mug.
You just proved my point.
From our lobby. Grab your own little mug. And when we share the Family Business Podcast with you, you have a cup of coffee or, as in Mary's...
Water. I'm drinking water.
Yeah. Enjoy.
Delicious.
So continue.
So this is an exciting time.
Yes, I'm a little giddy.
You're a little over the top giddy.
Stevie.
You're a little excited because the book is out.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been an incredible experience up to this point. And now people have got it in their hot little hands. Many are ordering it, and it's an exciting season. And we just decided today we're going to get on here and talk about it, why it is so beneficial for all of our listeners and our YouTubers that are watching to go and get this book. I just want to take a second because I know you normally set us up for podcasts, but I want to just kind of set up, if you will let me, for a few seconds here. None of us have a lot of time. All of us are limited on time. And even listening to podcasts is time consuming. Reading books is time consuming. And there are people that read books, and there are people like me who I want to know if I'm going to stop and read a book, it's an experience for me. That I'm almost sad that it's over. Or I can read very quickly, and it is such a resource for my soul and my everyday right now, what I'm going through. That's really what I have time for. So it's sad that I don't have enough time to read all the books. I see people that are readers. Well, the majority of people aren't readers. Right. They don't consume books. So when we do consume a book, it needs to hit all the notes. And I mean this when I say this. Your book does that.
Right.
It is a fast read. But more importantly, it is a resource that you'll return to. Because the way you've lined up this book through the chapters alone, just reading the chapters out loud, intrigued me. The wall. That's, I think, chapter 6 or 7, the wall. All of us have hit a wall somewhere in our life. And you read that chapter, and it's the picture you tell, the picture you paint from the story you tell from your own personal experience. It appeals to everyone, whether you've had a near-death experience or whether you've had a heart attack. It doesn't matter. That will reach everyone who reads it. And I think the whole book does that. But it is an incredible read. And I'm saying that from my personal experience, who, when time is limited in our lives,
right?
We need to make sure it's quick. It's not long, but it is a phenomenal story told so well with all kinds of resources woven throughout the book to help you right now in whatever mountain you are facing and whatever difficulty you're going through.
Yeah. Thank you, Mary. I think you're right. I do. When I sit down, I've read it a few times, of course, making sure everything lines itself up. Every time I do, of course, there's emotion attached to it. which, like any good Netflix movie, you want to have emotion. There's characters. So it's nice that you're able to connect with the person. This isn't just a story about somebody,
right?
Some fictitious character. This is legit. There's somebody myself that's involved in this. You're right up there. You've got a lot to say in the book. So there's characters. There's the emotion. There's a beginning, and you know what I like about it too is there's an end. There's on the back side of this. As tough as the story is on the front side, with all the pain and the setback and the realities that out of nowhere, you can just all of a sudden take this hit.
The potential loss.
Yeah. That at the end, if you're making decisions along the way, then there is a way to finish well, come out of it on the other side. And that's what I like about the book. I was trying my best with our writing buddy to make sure that on the back end of it, you had to feel better.
Yeah,
I had to feel
definitely.
better. Because I think that's where the challenges should be able to lead us in life. So thankfully, we're able to come into the podcast booth, talk a little bit more about this. And let me just say for a minute, man, I'm so thankful for the Podience, those that are listening, and those that continue to like the program.
Yeah.
And then share the program. And I can't encourage you to do that enough. Share it with others because people are looking. Matter of fact, we got a text this week from a young woman, a mother, a wife and mother that we have known since the day she was born.
Her whole life.
Okay. And she comes to our church and she sits and listens to us pretty much every week. And she says this. She says, "Good morning. I usually listen to audiobooks while driving. But this morning, while deciding what new book I should start, your podcast popped in my mind. I really shouldn't be a millennial because I've never listened to a podcast before. So I had to Google and download the app, etc. But I've really enjoyed listening to the snippets during the sermon. After listening to Series 5, Episode 1. Boy, we've been on here for a bit.
Yes, we have. I've
realized I need to catch up and then go back and listen to the previous seasons. But just wanted to let you know, I think I'll pause on the audiobooks and become a true millennial.
Come on.
And listen to your podcast from now." Then she says, already, this is an hour or so later, 2 hours later, already on episode 2. I think it's great. Not really Christian-y. So relatable, even to the secular world. Keep making them. Well, Christina, we are, and we're glad that you're loving this. I read it because, one, if it's blessing you, if you're enjoying the podcast, then share it with others because there's Christinas all over the place.
Yeah, that's right.
That need something that we think this could be enjoyable to them, and not just those that are in our church world, but those that are in the real world, as we live in the real world, Mary.
And there's a lot of podcasts, there's a lot of resources out there that spend a lot of hours that you could be driving around listening to, dealing with social issues and all the things that, although they impact us, we make sure our podcast, the resources that we provide, really deal with families, with the person right where they are, dealing with everyday conflicts that affect us all.
Yeah.
Raising your kids, being married, all of those difficulties to help you right there in real time. That's what I love.
And we're not, again, some Hollywood, far off, other state personality. We're pretty much right here in your backyard, especially if you know us here in Miami. All right. So the podcast today is about helping people get our 42 book.
Yeah.
All right. Why don't you read something? We were talking about this recently from our platform, introducing the book to our church family, and somebody responded to us or reached out to us. It was very precious.
Yeah, I think I have it right here. Actually, it was Carrie Baldovinos who had a similar heart episode not too long ago. And she said, I'm going to find it because I had it here and then I put it down. She said this as we were sharing it on Sunday. Listening to your story on your podcast and today in service has made me very emotional. So much more to this story that I did not know. I also had that 42 moment, her own 42 moment, a few years ago with my heart. And I am so grateful that we are both here, she's talking about you, to talk about it and share God's grace in our lives. I look forward to reading your book. Thank you for sharing this very emotional story with us. God bless you both.
Warning here, Carrie, you're going to cry a whole lot.
She is.
She is, because when she's reading my story, she's going to remind her of her own. And how crazy that was, her in the hospital and being alone in that ICU and them getting in there and doing all that they had to do, and how vulnerable you feel when you're going through those kind of challenges like that. And so get ready, Carrie. You're going to cry as you go through the reading, which I'm glad we can share the other side of it, and that the 42 that hit us didn't take us out.
That's right.
Because we're not dead.
No.
Which means God's is not done. Yeah. That's a good thing. So, Mary, more and more people, they're asking, how do they get the book? Now, the best way to do it is to go on Amazon, and they can look for the book. They can search for it, 42, and it's actually spelled out 42 instead of the number like we use on our shirts and such.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep. So it's 42. And or they can search by Steve Alessi, but they can go on and they can order their book on Amazon, which is really helpful.
Cool.
To me. If you're watching the podcast, you can actually see on the back screen what the book looks like. We've been kind of covering the book cover. We've been kind of keeping it a secret, but now here it is. You can actually see it.
It's beautiful. I love the cover.
Yeah, and I'll talk about that in a minute. I'll talk about why we went with this particular cover, the image that's on the cover. The book that I've been reading and looking out of is actually, it's the last printable copy before we went ahead and signed off on it. So it has across it a line that says, not for resale, not for resale, not for resale. And I think she was joking with me, but this past week when we were reading from the book, actually read a segment and speaking about it from the platform, somebody texts me right then and says, hey, I'll give you $500 for the book that's in your hand.
She believes in it.
She does.
Yeah.
But then she said, LOL.
I don't know. You may
Is she joking? What part are you joking about, Luli? I don't know.
Call her out.
$500 is pretty good. But
she's awesome.
Yeah.
It sure made you feel good.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
It did. Actually, I didn't read it until later in the day. She came up to me. Did you get my text? I'll give you $500 now. I said, wow. Anyhow, so we want to encourage you, go to Amazon. Something else I would really encourage you to do, especially as you start to read it, okay? Buy it on Amazon first. You can type in my name and, again, spell out 42, but then review it on Amazon.
Yes, please.
Have an account, go on and review it. It's going to be really helpful to get reviews.
Yeah.
Because it'll just put it out there for others who start searching, and they'll be able to see what you get out of the book. And then post the cover of the book on your social media pages. Right. Instagram, TikTok. We don't want TikTok, but if you do, redeem it.
Facebook, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
Redeem TikTok. Okay. Use it for the glory of God. And post the book cover on there. Facebook, as you said, get it out there and let people know it's a must read.
If you can only do one thing, if you're a reader and you're not techie and that's not your thing, if there's one thing you can do, and of all the things you suggested, the most important would be probably the Amazon review, right? That's the most important thing. The Amazon review is the main thing that we want you to try to leave a review for this book, because that's what reaches people and influences them, just like it influences you. When you go on Amazon, you look at the reviews. Now, when I look at an item or a book or something for review, I don't just look at the stars. I go down and I read several, and sometimes I'll scroll down to see where I find the first bad one.
Oh, goodness.
So I'm telling you, it's super important for us to flood Amazon with good reviews for this book, because it'll make all the difference on how many more people will see it, and it'll pop up to the top, which is important.
I'm amazed at how it is in the story, how it really goes beyond just a Christian book because it's a real story, Mary.
Yeah.
We may have disagreements on a lot of things in life.
Yeah.
We come from different cities. We raised in different communities. We may have political, beliefs that are different, religious beliefs, spiritual beliefs that are different. You're never going to find two people that agree on everything. My gosh, we've been married for 35 plus years, and we still have disagreements.
No, we don't.
Yeah. And so, we can disagree with people, but what I've found where a lot of us can connect, I mean a lot, is at the level of our pain.
So true.
Wow, man.
So true.
When we go through something that's caused us pain, it's like all the differences all of a sudden are thrown out the window.
That's true.
You remember back in the day, 1992, Hurricane Andrew came to town. When that thing left, it was amazing how our South Florida community came together.
It's true.
Because we were united by our pain.
Yep.
And that's what I think the book is going to help us do with people. Even people that won't come to a church service, that's fine. They won't listen to a Christian podcast or something. That's fine. But this story is about pain. Yeah. It's about what we all experience when our legs have been taken out from under us.
That's true.
So that's why you want to post this. That's why you want to put a review out there. Yes. There may be somebody that is just saying, "Man, I'm finished."
Yeah, that's so true.
I feel finished.
Yeah.
There could be somebody that's sitting there talking about suicide, taking their own life.
That's right.
Somebody that is depressed.
They survived it, but they're not thriving from it.
No, they're not. But they're about again. They feel finished.
Yes, exactly.
And people looking at events in the world right now, they're like, how in the world are things ever going to get better? My gosh. Yeah. And all right, all of that's painful. But I think the story here is just going to help people realize I can use my pain that in a way that's going to, I don't have to ever forget about what I went through. But I can use my pain to somehow see that my life can still be better on the other side.
Right.
Of it. I may have been abused. I may have been neglected. I may have been set out to pasture and forgotten about.
Yeah.
But you know what? I can still choose to figure out a right way to walk this thing out from here and be able to pat myself on the back down the road and say, you know what? I'm finishing well.
Absolutely. I want to just interject there because I think the majority of people, are ourselves included, when you go through something, COVID was a setback. So COVID was a 42 for people. There are people that are still processing that. The change politically that we've had in the last few years has really brought this wind of fear into people's lives, people that call themselves Christians and people that don't identify as Christians. And here's the bottom line, what everybody wants. This is what I think 99.9% of the people want. Tell me what to do now.
Yeah.
Tell me what do I do now? This has happened, this calamity, this divorce, whatever it is, fill in the blank in your life for why you might feel stuck, paralyzed. You talk about that in the book. And that's why I love the chapter called The Wall, because it really does deal with the moment of going, I'm stuck here and I'm not going to stay stuck here. Mm-hmm. But the majority of people today around the world, not just America, around the world, the one question that they ask is, tell me what to do now. How do I climb out of this? And I love our generation. I love all our people. I love intelligent, educated people. I love that. But we can get so philosophical that we get even more entangled into our emotions instead of having that person that just looks at you and says, look, I was on my back. I was out for the count. This is what happened to me. This is the normal processes. Here's what's normal. Here's what your body's going to do. Here's what your mind's going to do. Here's what your psyche's going to do. This is what fear does to you. It's so practical. And then you turn and say, now here's how we march out of this. And we're not telling you it's got to be today.
Yeah.
We're not even putting a timeline on it so that you feel shame that you're not bouncing back. No, it's a process. So 42 has so much in it that's so rich for people. It's a how-to tool when you're ready. And what I really like, Steve, that I think people don't even know about you and me is your personality is even though I have the answer, I am not going to just spring back to a place of healing if I'm not healed.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not full and genuine, you're okay with saying, let the process take time. My personality has always been, oh, you survived, so let's get up and go. You're good now. Start talking about how good things are. And I've matured in that area, even in your personality, to say, listen, sometimes traumatic things take time. It's all right. Slow down.
Yeah.
You'll get there. And that's the best kind of coach that you could have, which the book definitely gives that picture of you. If people that don't know you or they think they know you, the book is really going to show them the Steve Alessi that we know, that your kids know, how you talk to us and how you've encouraged us through different circumstances and seasons of our family's life.
Yeah.
It really is you.
Right.
All of this is you. But I just think the appeal is so broad to all the different types of personalities. Take a chill pill. You're going to make it. You're going to be all right. You'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why people need to buy the book.
Yeah. You're going to find out who my hero is in the book.
Yep.
It's cool. You mentioned coach, so I'll leave it about right there. Okay. He is a coach. You're also going to hear about me punching somebody in the face.
Oh my gosh.
That's
not the
part
pastor.
of our church. Yeah. And but let me mention to you
everybody's going to buy this book right now. Everyone.
Why this cover? The cover 42 has a bust on it, but the bust the head is cut in half. It's broken. It's not cut. It's broken.
Yeah.
So it's like the face of David looking in one direction, but then half of just above his nose, the bust is broken. And the image there, the symbol of that is what it is when you are broken.
Yeah.
But yet you still keep looking forward.
Yeah.
With what you have. You just keep moving in that direction. Even though you may be broken and feel like you're half the person you were before you went through your event, you're still looking and heading in that same direction.
That's good.
And it's a bust that is also made, in this case, it could be concrete. It's something that is strong and solid.
Marble. I see marble, yeah.
If that's what it is, it shows the strength of the person who is able to still look forward, to head in the right direction, even when they are broken.
Yeah.
So that's what the cover of the book symbolizes.
There's one more, I thought. One more piece to that. Because if it is marble, it just shows, we just got back from Israel and Italy, and those pieces last for thousands of years. They stand the test. They weather the storm. When other big, huge buildings that have been built in the last 300 or 400 years completely collapse, you still see marble structures that date back to 800, 900, 1,000 years. So to me, I look at that picture and I see everything you stated, but I also see that it is built to last. It might be broken.
Yeah.
It might be broken, but it still has value that you can't put a price tag on.
Yeah.
And that's our lives. When we go through something and we're not ashamed to tell our story, it is invaluable.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this podcast within that right after the Easter week, then you hopefully have gotten an invitation of the launch party that we're going to be having on the 16th of April.
Be fun. Mm-hmm.
If you're listening to this later, then of course this just dated this particular podcast. But we're going to hang out here at the Metro Life Dayland campus, where we'll have a nice party. We have some things taking place that particular night. We'll be taking pictures. We'll be helping with people review. We'll be also helping people with their social media and some stories that's what you're going to be doing because you're great at that.
Dadeland or Doral?
I'm sorry, did I say?
That. You said Dadeland, but that's okay. It's going to be it's going to be in Doral.
The Doral campus. Thank you. Dadeland, you're on my mind. At the Doral campus.
Got it.
And it'll be a nice time. We'll be able to sign some books and It's just a great way to say to our friends and church family, come on out if you'd like, and let's just hang together, because this book represents my life, but it also represents the DNA of our church.
Absolutely.
Man, I'm so proud of this organization, the people that are in it, because I think they exemplify
absolutely
what this book represents, Mary.
Absolutely. I mean, 42 is all of us.
Well, we even as a church, man, we went through COVID.
I know.
We shut down for 3 months?
Yeah.
And that was right before Easter. And we thought for sure we were going to be open back up right at Easter. We didn't do a live Easter service. We did everything online. And soon after that, we said, you know what? We can't keep our people separated like this. And it was on Pentecost Sunday that year of 2020 that we opened the doors back up. So that was, in May.
May 31st.
May 31st.
We started back.
Really?
Yeah. Because we ended May 12th, I think, March 12th, and we started back May 31st. So it was only about 8 weeks we were out.
Right.
Yeah. You were determined.
Yeah, we were. But that's the whole 42 deal. You get hit, and what do?
You get back up.
What, we're going to keep shut down and keep our doors closed to people that were like, hey, man, we need gathering. We need community. That's COVID tried to break up community.
They tried to say the church wasn't essential.
Yeah. And boy, did we prove them wrong.
We sure did.
But that's what our church is filled with this. They're filled, the people we're connected with. I love that. Our staff, our leadership, our workers, all that serve, they're filled with that 42. So they wonder, where does this come from? What allowed us to be able to build this culture of strength and that we're going to fight the good fight of faith? What did it? Well, it comes from this particular event that happened 15 years ago, and we didn't let it take us out.
No. And I think what people need to also know is that our church is filled with hundreds and hundreds of 42 stories. We have some of the strongest people. Not only have we experienced things collectively as a church, but individually. I mean, our stories that our church people represent, I mean, you'd sit and just make you cry. Yeah. But yet they still come to church and they serve and they're living their life fully and they're raising their kids right and they're not blaming God, and this book is going to bless them as well. But it really does grab the personality and the spirit of our church is 42. It really is. And so as as people buy this book and they start leaving their reviews, you're going to hear from a lot of our church people who have their own 42 stories, because we've got some tough sheep in our fold. We got a lot of tough sheeps.
So before we close this thing out, I want to leave on a kind of a humorous standpoint, if you can. The other night we were talking about this, me, you, Lauren, and Gabby in the kitchen. And before we're going to bed, and Gabby mentioned, she said, Dad, you said on Sunday that this book was good. You're glad that your son-in-law and daughter-in-law can get it because they weren't around then when it happened. And it's good for them to know the story. And they said, we were around then, but we were so young, we don't even know the story. So they started to go back and tell us a little bit about the responses when they were talking about what they remember and how Gabby as a little girl.
Oh yeah. So I had to bring all the kids in and tell them that you'd had a heart attack because I didn't know how to tell them, when to tell them, traumatize them, not traumatize them, and we didn't know what was what the situation was. So I finally said, no, I'm going to tell the kids because Steve's going to be okay. And so when I brought them all around, I think Gabby said she was about 8 or so. 8.
Yeah.
It's been 15 years ago. Do the math real fast. Something like that. She's 23 now. Anyway, she was little. Is that right? Okay. She was 6.
Ahead.
She was 6. So I brought them all around and Lauren was 8. And Stephanie and Chris were older, so they knew. I said, hey guys, I just want you to know Dad did not hurt his back. Like I told you, he had a heart attack. And of course, Christopher and Stephanie just broke down and started sobbing. They understood. And Lauren, of course, cried a little bit, as Lauren does. And Gabby just started weeping. And so one of the kids said, Gabby, why are you crying? Do you know what a heart attack is? And she's like, no. But she didn't have any concept, and yet she was bawling as if she knew the gravity of what had happened to you.
Yeah.
It was so funny.
It was.
And just their perspective of being in that room playing games. And it wasn't until Stephanie looked out the door and saw the paramedic.
Mm-hmm.
When she saw that, she lost her mind and was trying to get out the door. And the younger two didn't understand what the big deal was.
No.
They had no real concept.
And you were laughing because you were saying, you were showing Christopher like he's playing his Game Boy or something, like, oh yeah, Mom, okay, we'll be all right, but not really paying attention at all to what's going on. He was so focused on his Game Boy, and I think they were playing.
No. They were so
rock band. Yeah.
So I'm like, guys, stay over here. Dad hurt his back, and Gabby's like, okay.
Playing the drums.
No idea. Completely oblivious to what was going on with you. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, well, thank you for joining us today. Mary and I just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about 42, a guide to finishing well when you were almost finished. Love the tagline on the back. Again, if you're not dead, God's not done.
I love that.
Well, if you like today's episode, please do us a favor and do yourself a favor. And that is, if you haven't already subscribed to the podcast on the app you're using right now, do so you don't miss another future episode. Also, if you would like to talk more to us and join the Podience and experience more of what our family has to share, tap the links in this episode's descriptions so that you can follow on Instagram or Facebook or even our website, thealessifamilybusiness.com. That's where you can ask any questions that you have about not only what to do, what we do, but if there's any particular issue that's affecting your family, please mention it there. We'll be able to handle that with you. Most importantly, take about 30 seconds and share this podcast, this episode with a friend or family member that you love and care about. They may be struggling with something that you just heard, and it may help encourage them to not only survive, but to thrive. This is the family business, where family is everybody's business, so make it your business to help another family and share this episode with them. Thanks for joining us today. We pray you were encouraged, and get out and get our book on Amazon. Leave a review while you're there.
Hey there, if you enjoyed this episode of the Family Business Podcast with the Alessis, then you'll want to know we've got more insight, more encouragement, more great conversations that we can have on Sundays, and even some surprises coming your way. So you want to make sure you subscribe to our channel and watch one of these next videos here next, because remember, family is everybody's business.